Today I'm out here with my boat trailer and just doing some basic inspections. I just wanted to come out here and take a look at the trailer, make sure everything was good. So, what kinds of things do you want to check? Well, of course you want to check the lights, right? Make sure that all the lights are working, make sure the brake lights and the blinkers and all those kinds of things are functioning properly. You want to inspect the plug where you connect it to your tow vehicle. And in this case, this year I did find an issue with that. When I went to plug it in, it would not go in. And so it looks like what happened is there was right where the little seam is on this piece right here, it looks like it got squished, so maybe it got run over by the jack stand if it was dragging on the ground, or maybe somebody stepped on it or dropped a tool on it, who knows. So I just used a screwdriver to bend this open a little bit, but I'm glad I checked, because I'd hate to find that and then have to deal with it early in the morning on the day I'm trying to pull the boat out. You want to inspect the cabling that goes to the plug and make sure that there's no frays or exposed wires or anything like that. So it's important to keep your power cable secured and off the ground. You don't want to be dragging it around or letting it hang. So I usually just wrap it around the tongue like that to keep it out of the way and prevent any damage to it. So that's always a good idea. You want to check out the bunks, make sure that the carpet's in good shape. Make sure that there's no tears or any parts where the carpet's peeling away or coming off. It's also a good time to inspect your rollers. If your boat trailer has rollers, just make sure that they spin okay, there's no rust, everything is tight, so that they're not about to fall off or anything. There's no flat spots on the roller. The rubber isn't cracking and getting brittle, those kinds of things. And those are easy to replace. You also want to check the roller up at your bow. If you have a bow roller on your trailer, and again, just make sure that it's still flexible, that the mounting bolt is still tight, there's no flat spots and those kinds of things. So you want to check your trailer winch, make sure that it's still functioning, that it's greased properly, that the strap is serviceable, there's no frays, or sometimes they get a little thin from the UV damage and brittle. So just make sure the strap is still in good condition. So I replaced this strap last season. It's a little bit dirty, but just one of those things that you got to do on a regular basis. And the way I like to store or secure the straps when I'm transporting the trailer empty is by locking the hook onto here, onto the platform like that, and then I take the chain and I pass it through this little hole right here. And that way it's locked in there pretty good. It's not going to go anywhere. So you want to check your safety chains, both the safety chain that goes from the trailer winch mount to the bow eye on the boat to secure the boat, and also of course the safety chains that go to the tow vehicle. So in both cases you just want to make sure that the chains are still in good condition, there's no damage to them, and that the typically bolts that are used to mount the end of the chain to the frame of the trailer, just make sure those are still tight, no damage, and they're good to go. It's a good idea to clean both ends of the plug where the electrical system of the trailer connects to the tow vehicle. So typically I use a little WD-40 and a rag, maybe some Q-tips, and get in there and just clean all the gunk out and the dirt that gets in there to make sure that it has a good connection. So you want to check your wheel bearings, and I typically do that actually in the fall after I get the boat home and prepare to put it into the garage for winter storage. And the reason I do it is because it's a good opportunity, because I store my boat with jack stands underneath the trailer to keep the wheels off the ground. And the reason I do that is because if you store wheels for a long time with load on them, then they can develop flat spots where they're making contact with the ground. And so by putting the jack stands underneath the trailer, that keeps the wheels off the ground, and then there's no load on those wheels. So if you can't do that, then you probably should be moving your trailer every 30 to 60 days, just so that the wheels are sitting on a different spot. You can also lift the trailer and just spin the wheels and then put it back down. When you inspect your wheel bearings, you want to lift the wheel off the ground, spin it, see how it spins, make sure there's no grinding or any strange noises, and then you want to try and move it back and forth and see if there's any play in the bearing. And then you also want to check for any grease that might be leaking out on both sides of the wheel, because it can be on the outside or it can be on the inside, the back side of the tire. And so if there's a bunch of grease in there, that's a good sign that there might be some kind of a leak, and your bearing needs to be repacked or replaced. It's also a good time to add some grease to the bearings. So when I downloaded the owner's manual from Magic Tilt, it recommends that you add a little bit of grease every time the trailer goes in the water. You want to make sure that you have proper tire inflation. So on this particular trailer and these tires, it's 90 psi, and it can actually be difficult to find, like if you go to a gas station or something like that, to find an air station that'll go that high. So I ended up buying a little portable pump that I use on both of my trailers. So if you've never checked the torque on your lug nuts, it's a good time to do that as well. And so Magic Tilt on this particular trailer recommends 80 to 90 foot-pounds of torque for the lug nuts. You also want to inspect the license plate mounting bracket. So I have lost a mounting bracket before, but luckily it was in my driveway. But if it may be metal or plastic, but they can break, they can bend. The little bolts that hold them on can get loose, and they can pop off. And so it's just something that is worth checking, because if you lose your license plate, that's going to be a hassle. Finally, I like to wash the trailer before I put the boat on it, and that includes scrubbing the carpet on the bunks. And it may not be an issue for you, but where I take my boat, it's a dirt road that goes to the lake, and so the carpet in the bunks gets kind of impregnated with all that sand and grit. And so every year before I pick up the boat, I wash down the trailer and just use like a car washing brush, like a scrub brush, and scrub all that gunk out of the carpet of the trailer. All right, well, as always, I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.